Welcome to Samu't Sari, Conversations with Mimi, a weekly podcast by Social, also a member of the Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate. Samu't Sari is where we can show that ordinary people do extraordinary things. Tune in to be entertained and to learn something new with your host, Mimi Lorilla.
Hello and welcome to Samu't Sari Conversations with Mimi, a podcast featuring hot topics and other topics of interest for women and men alike. This is your host, Mimi Lorilla, where I sometimes talk on my own and sometimes I feature guests who share their passion and commitment to their profession and their talents or whatever it is that they are doing at the moment. So here at Samu't Sari, we share stories to inspire you, stories from ordinary people who make extraordinary things. And in today's episode, I'm lucky always. I always say I'm lucky if I have people that are joining my show because it's lonely to talk by yourself, you know. But if I have other people in the show, I get excited and I feel lucky because obviously they can give me a lot of their own personal insights. And today I have here with me two master's students or almost finishing up. They are from Federation University here in Melbourne. We have Bristi, Osti, and Harshani Ekanayake. So welcome Bristi and welcome Harshani. Samu't Sari, it means anything and everything. So Samu't Sari is a Filipino word. So because my show is like very open to any topic, I can talk about anything I want to talk about here. But today our focus is about multicultural women, international students studying here in Australia. In your case, you're studying here in Melbourne. So maybe Bristi, say hi to our audience. So they can be listeners, they can be viewers of the YouTube channel. And tell us a little bit about yourself. And then I'll ask Harshani to do the same thing.
Sure. Hello everyone, I am Bristi Osti and I am from Nepal originally, and I've been in Australia for about a year and a half, almost 2 years now. And I'm currently doing my Master's of Social Work, and alongside it I am also a personal care assistant. I work at an aged care facility. So that's about me.
Thank you, Bristi. Harshani, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you for having me today, Mimi. So good evening, everyone. I'm Harshani Ekanayake from Sri Lanka. So I've been living in Australia for almost like 5 years now. I completed my Master of International Relations in 2017, and I'm almost at the end of my Master of Social Work degree, and I'm completing by the end of this month, I guess. And that's all about me. Yeah.
That's all about you. So you have taken 2 courses already. So first is international
Yes.
International studies, am I correct?
Relations.
And as international relations, and
Yes,
now
it's
you're
more
doing
about
Master of
politics
Social.
and yes.
Okay, so let's go back
Yes.
first to.
So I used to.
Yeah. Go ahead, Harshani.
So I used to work in the diplomatic setting back in Sri Lanka. I was coordinator between Sri Lankan Foreign Ministry and the Embassy of Myanmar in Sri Lanka. So that's my background. I came into social work because of my passion of helping people, and yeah, that's it.
Passion in a different sector rather than in
Yes.
politics and international relations.
Yes.
You wanted to do social work.
Right.
What about you, Bristi? What's your background in Nepal prior to coming to Australia?
I've been all over the place actually. So I was in Nepal until my 12th year, and then I went to India for my psychology degree. And then I worked in India for a year in a school. I used to be a thinking skills trainer there. So it was mostly psychology and so it was with kids and within school. But to be honest, I felt like I needed to do something more.
Right.
Just psychology. I wanted to be like more involved with people and issues. So that's how I went back home and came here.
That's right. So for both of you, can you give me a little glimpse of the reason or what made you think about studying again, and now here in Australia? What was the trigger, or what was the situation that prompted you to move again to another country, and now you're in the Trans-Tasman Pacific side of the world, which is so different from where you've come from? So maybe any one of you can start answering that question.
So, so
Go ahead,
for me, for me, it's like I need to have a different experience, like learning experience and also working experience from another country, so that I can apply the systematic, approaches things, like when I go back to my country and join the workforce there. So that's one of the reasons that I want.
Yeah. Okay. So you are all at this stage thinking about going back and bringing your expertise and everything that you learned here to help,
Yes.
obviously, improve the situation in your home country. That's
Yes.
right. Okay,
Yes,
Bristi, what
that's right.
about you?
So I think one of the main reasons was completely independent of the career that I chose, was travel, to be honest. So I really wanted to see cultures beyond the South Asian subcontinent, and something different. Like we used to see in movies, but I really wanted to live that before we settle, like everybody would. And I think that was one of the main reason. And the second would be, like Harshani said, in experience beyond what we grew up in. So the social work in Nepal might be completely different than how we practice here. So the way they practice there is, people think social work is more like, helping and charity and things like that. But then when we actually do social work practice in Western world, it's completely different. And the way we see it is completely different. So that's also another reason.
Okay, before I move on to my next topic, I just want to know your thoughts around social work as a profession. Is this a very women-dominated profession, or it just so happened that I'm interviewing two lovely women who are almost finishing up with social work? What are your observations being a social worker student? Is this like an equal opportunity kind of job for both men and women?
I think I'll start. As far as I have observed, being in Nepal and being here, I think we can say that it's more dominated by women, but I don't think it's because the profession itself is biased on gender. But I may be wrong, but I feel that women are more drawn towards it because they have that kind of, like, especially in our cultures, it's seen that men have to do something very major, like IT sector or business, or be a doctor or a lawyer, something like that. And women subconsciously tend to draw towards the empathetic kind of scenario, a bit like helping, and because we are also homely, we have that cultural and that nature in us. So I think that's the reason why women are more drawn. And I saw, like, majority of our classmates are also women, but I don't know if it's the same here. But yeah,
that's your experience. Yeah, thank you for that. What about you, Harshani? Is the same experience you witnessed during the whole entire time you were studying?
Yes, adding to Bristi, I always think that women are more drawn into this area because, that's more about people who are oppressed. And I believe, like, women who are oppressed, women are the most oppressed in any society. So I think, out of personal experience and also, like, I think that's the main reason, like, women are more into this thing, like helping people, and also helping people who are going through difficult times as a result of domestic violence or mental health issues and so on. Yeah.
Which brings me to the main reason why we're having a conversation today, is because I've done a little bit of research. I know it's not the same kind of research that you do, but I'm doing some kind of digging. And it talks about some of the challenges of international students here in Australia. And you can link this back to your experience in your home country when you studied, and obviously you were finding differences in terms of what you learned there and what you experienced here. Some of the things that I found that are challenging, and you can correct this if this is not right. You can also say that's true based on your experience. Some of the 5 major areas where a lot of international students are challenged are in the areas of financial hardships, differences in the educational system, the language barrier, the cultural differences, and sometimes workplace harassment. Like you said, the women are mostly oppressed and they're drawn to this kind of profession. So you cannot help but maybe at one stage they might experience that. So is the research true based on your experience? Are those areas that I mentioned, financial, differences in educational system, language, cultural, and even workplace harassment, do they exist? Or am I just reading too much into the situation? Or you think that, these things are not applicable in your case? Anyone can answer that.
I think you're absolutely right, Mimi, because we were having our last presentations, last week, and we were talking about all these issues that we are going through in terms of, because of our immigration status and the language barrier, and as well as the ethnic differences and all. So I think, yes, as you said, language barrier is one of the major issues that a lot of people cannot access, especially as students, we cannot access many services that are available to us, and they won't even know that these services exist for them. So they have to have, we have to go through interpreters or translators to get to know about these services available for them. And as well, as you said, the bullying happens at workplace too. And one of our friends actually shared some experiences with us, like that she was bullied during her placement. Bristi, I think you can remember too. Yeah. And she said a lot of staff members had preconceived assumptions about the cultural restrictions and all, and based on her religion and all, and they started criticizing her. They made fun of her and all. Yeah, those are really good, very challenging situations that we have to go through.
Bristi, do you have anything to add to what Harshani has already shared?
I would like to add that, in the hopes of having a good education and good career in future, a lot of international students are drawn to Australia. That's a fact. And some of them might not be financially stable back home. And, there are couples that come in, and one of them is studying and the other are in the hopes of earning money to support the wife or the husband that's studying. So, that becomes a lot of financial strain on them, because whatever they earn, everything goes on the education, because it's very expensive for international students here compared to what a normal Australian would have to pay. Even for our course, it's very high. So I think financial challenges are the most prominent ones. And then cultural barriers, of course, and then language, because we don't see many people of our own. So in my personal opinion, in my personal experience, I live in the east of Melbourne, and the area that I live in, we don't have many Nepalese people around. So when I go out in the street, if I even hear one single person speaking my language, I'd be like, oh my God. That kind of a thing.
It's really like a luxury for you to hear them.
Yeah, it really feels like you've been dragged away from your culture and your existence in itself. So that becomes a big challenge for us.
Yeah. So I think that you guys are very strong. A person who wants to study here in Australia, having to really unknowingly, when you come here, you're excited, you just want to study, and unknowingly you will experience any or a combination of these 5 challenges. really tests you as an individual, how strong you are, how resilient you are, and if you can overcome them, then that shows a lot about your character. So really, the international students are a dime in a dozen. I mean, they're not. This is not for everyone. A lot of people think that there's a prestige associated with having to study overseas, but they don't know the things that are happening behind the curtain in someone's life. All they see are the Instagram posts of where they where they go, where they eat, where they hang out, but they don't know the other side of it. Like, do you guys also work? I mean, do you have to are you on a scholarship, or do you need to have your own part-time job so you can support yourself when you study here? What's the situation like financially?
I think without having a job is very difficult, because I think Harshani can relate to this as well, because the currency exchange rate itself is like sky high for us and Australian dollars. So even if maybe it's just me, I don't know, but then I feel like even though my parents can send me money, I'll be like, I'm already independent. Should I not? So, because exchange rate is so high, I don't want to be a burden on my parents, kind of a thing, the guilt thing that happens. And you're bound to get, very agitated if you don't have a part-time job. And even though your parents are like supportive, we'll send you money or something like that, I tend to have that feeling like, no, I shouldn't burden my parents so much.
That's
so
right.
Without having that assurance on the side, it's very difficult.
Yeah, that's true. Arshani, do you have a similar experience?
That's the same to Bristi too. But I have my husband who can support me financially. So, like he's been there, he's been like financially supporting me for both courses and all. And I lost like many shifts because of the. I was working for this restaurant. Mimi knows about it.
Yeah.
And I lost like 4 shifts. And I'm just working on Saturdays now.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's the situation at the moment. So
That's okay.
if I was alone, I don't think I'll be able to support
That's
my.
right. I can imagine how
Yeah.
difficult it is. And to tell you honestly, even though these are only temporary, you need a job in order to survive. At the end of the day, when you finish with your degree, you're going closer to your goal and your dream job and how to make a difference with loving the work that you do and getting paid for it. Your work right now is just a means to another goal. It's not the end of it. So I'm really encouraging you to stay there, and it'll soon be over. So don't get too worried about that. I want to pick up on a point, Harshani, that you mentioned a while ago about the language barrier, and some students are not aware that these services are available to them. I find it quite extraordinary to hear that, because I was thinking that your uni should be the first point of contact or point of call for all these services that you need when you're kind of grasping and you don't know where to go and you don't know what to do. So if the uni won't provide that, where do international students go to seek the help that they need? So can you enlighten me a little bit? How does that work?
Yes. So I'll share my personal experience. When I came to Australia in 2016, so I was an introvert. I don't share my opinions with others because I was always insecure about my communication skills.
Yeah.
So what happened was the only way that I found myself more included was, getting to know more people from other countries, like Asian countries especially, who are going through the same experiences. So I could relate myself to them and I started talking about them. We had a support group and all. So that was really a good thing that happened to me. So I started opening about myself and I started finding more opportunities and more chances available for us in the university. So this was this Lathrop University, not Federation. So it's more like, a shared experience that helped me to get over those things.
So you really have to network. You cannot survive here by just
Yes.
being on your own. You have to get out there, talk to other people, find those support groups, which I really think is a good idea. I think more women would do that compared to men. Men would probably lock themselves in and just try to figure
Yes.
things out on their own. But the world is not working that way. You need to really extend yourself and find the people who can help you out. Now, tell me, what's the situation like with COVID? Are international students being supported by the Australian government in terms of what they would need to survive COVID, or you're still on your own trying to make sense and make sense of everything? Or was there ever a point where you said, I can't do this anymore, I might as well go back to my home country because COVID's not helping me? What are the thought processes of international students during COVID in terms of, being worried? Prior to COVID, you're probably already challenged by those areas we talked about. I'm thinking COVID made it more difficult. Bristi, maybe you have an idea or an experience around that.
COVID, I think, has made many lives upside down, I would say. And I think it's very difficult for international students on top of it, because as you see, the whole hospitality industry is down and at the moment. And I think a lot of international students were employed in the hospitality industry. I am one of the very lucky ones that I am in the healthcare sector, but I have seen my friends struggle. And the job keeper and the finances that the government provides through the workspaces, that's not eligible. International students are not eligible for that. So during the whole lockdown, during the whole takeaway only stage, international students were not included in the workforce because they were not eligible for the job keeper money that the government was giving. So I think those kind of things, if it was extended to everybody regardless of their nationality or regardless of where they are from, what their situation is, I think it would have been much more better. But the government did come up with international support funds. As far as I know, I was not eligible because I was still working, but that was still there, the $1,100 that was up. I have heard cases where I have heard one case where a friend of mine did not get it despite not being at work for 6 long months. I don't know what the screening process was or what happened, but he did not get it. So I was a bit skeptical of how this works.
Yeah,
I'm not
and
very
some
sure.
people I heard, because I'm in a Facebook group for Filipinos, and there was one time when somebody said that they were already offering international students a plane ticket to go back to the Philippines because some of those students will never ever survive as a result of COVID. They might as well go back now and think about coming back later when it's still an option for them. Or maybe the dream to finish studying here will have to be put to a close for now because of COVID. So I think it's in an individual kind of situation. Like you said, you're lucky you still have a job. Harshani, you have a loving husband who just waiting for you to finish so you can start working and earning and helping him out as well. But for those people who are still, not sure whether studying in Australia is still for them, despite all of the challenges that we talked about, do you guys still advise people to continue studying here as an international student? So that's my last question. And the other last question is, and if yes, what is your strategy or tip that you can advise them so that they can survive, when they really decide to move here and study for another course?
I
You
would
want to go ahead,
say,
Harshani?
yes, I would say just hang in there. Everything will be fine. After 2-3 months, everything will be fine, I believe. And also believe in yourselves, that you're strong, because we know that we have been we have gone through a lot, and we have coped with different traumatic situations that I have gone through, and Yes, if you're going through something, I would say please talk to someone. There are a lot of services available in your universities, and also you might have friends who will be able to emotionally support you during difficult times. So I'll be that kind of friend. I'll be talking to my friends. I'll be helping them. I have been helping a lot of people like that. So yeah, that's the only advice that I have.
Yep. So
Please
you
talk.
still think it's a good idea to study here. Don't let these
Yes,
issues
yes,
stop them from dreaming and stop them from going for
yes,
their, ultimate goal. Okay, that's a very good advice.
yes.
Bristi, what about you? If you were to talk to another person who is interested to study here and, embark on a journey that they don't know what's going to happen to them, what are you going to tell them?
I think I'll totally agree with what Harshani just said. I think we have to be strong, and despite saying that we have to be strong, there will be circumstances where one might feel at the lowest level or very low or not very, you know, motivated to do anything. I think that is the time when we have to be actively looking at our resources. So university can be one of the main resources, and I think Study Melbourne is also one of the resources that we can look out to. There are a lot of services that is provided by your university, like the counseling services. You will have free counseling services.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that they
And
can do is
despite having all these,
contact you, the social workers.
actually in Fed there's a very good counseling team. I have access to guys, just putting it out there. It helps, even though for your smallest of issues to your largest. I think the main point of contact should be the university and your community. They are the most reliable people that we can speak out to, and I think it's still a good idea to stay here and continue on your education, because your education is important.
That's
and
right.
You have embarked on this journey. Once you reach there,
there's no turning back.
everything else would be like, wow, I did this was difficult, and I came across and I was strong. So that should be what should be motivating everybody.
That's right. Well, ladies, I really appreciate everything that you said, and hopefully that would really inspire other people to continue on, hang in there. COVID is not here forever, and if it is, we will learn to live with it. We will find ways of adapting to this situation. And I'm really happy that you are open about your experience and you are open to sharing them. So I think what I will offer to the listeners right now, or our viewers, is if they have a question about how to study as an international student, if you guys are happy for me to link you up with those people, they can contact me through mimi@dinosocial.com. So Harshani and Bristi, thank you very much for your time. I hope this is not the end. I hope you can come back and let's continue our conversations about your experiences as international students. Maybe when you become full-fledged social workers, duly certified by the what do you call that? The Association of Social Workers, I think it is, ASSW or something like that.
Yes.
Please come back, because there will be more work available, and part of that is extending our resources to information sharing. And this is exactly what we're trying to do in this show. So thank you, everyone. And just to remind our viewers that Samu't Sari is a member of the Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate. You can also reach out to me via my Facebook page or through my Twitter account. And obviously, please don't forget to like, subscribe to my YouTube. Thank you very much, Harshani and Bristi. Let's say goodbye to our viewers. And guys, I'll see you at the next episode. Bye for now. This is Mimi saying bye.
If you find value in this episode, make sure you like and subscribe to be notified of new releases. If you have any questions or suggestions, please reach out to Guerrilla Podcast or send us an email at mimi@dinosocial.com. Spread the word and don't forget to tune in next time.